I'm Lorii Abela, your Asian matchmaker and soulmate expert. Welcome to tonight's episode of Matchmaker Secrets, where we talk about love, dating, and relationships, and of course, matchmaking. So time and again, we have always been asked what are the secrets to happy relationships or maybe happy marriage? And so we want to address that. And so that's the reason why we have invited somebody who's an expert. So he's a divorce lawyer, so obviously they know much more better. Our guest tonight is Mark Schondorf. He is a divorce and family law attorney. His firm is called Heck Schondorf and practices in the Chicagoland area and surrounding counties. His practice focuses on businesses and real estate owners going through divorce, which can often involve difficult financial issues. So hello, how are you, Mark?
I'm doing great.
What are the common problems you have seen that causes divorce and unhappy relationships among couples?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. I've noticed there are a lot of different reasons why, unfortunately, marriages and relationships break down. I've seen a couple of different spots, hot spots that happen along the way. It's very common when a couple's very happy, they love each other, but then a child comes along, they have a baby. People can react very interestingly. Mothers can be very possessive over the child. Fathers can sometimes check out. Sometimes I've seen mothers check out. And I think what happens is all of a sudden, all this responsibility has changed their life. They want to keep their old life, and they are not ready to adjust to the new life. I've seen situations where as the kids get older, the one parent is going to stay home and take care of the kids, and the other parent is going to go and work and support the family. And then once the kids are old enough to go to school, that other parent decides that they don't go back to work, and that can cause problems because now one spouse is earning money, supporting, maybe growing their business, maybe they're having financial problems, and they think the other spouse isn't doing their job. So that's a common problem. And then sometimes people just grow apart. It takes a while after you put kids through school and they send them off to college, and now the house is empty, and you look at the person. You wake up in the morning and you say, why am I waking up next to you? Or maybe they feel bad that they missed out on something in life. And then also, unfortunately, you have issues where there's personalities, where sometimes somebody's just a selfish person, sometimes they're a jerk, sometimes they have personality disorders like they're a narcissist, and that's very, very difficult to deal with. So there's all kinds of issues.
And so do you think there is more divorce for younger couples as compared to the, middle-aged couples from what you have seen? Or those seniors already? Not sure, they're more serious seniors.
I would say that I think divorce might be more common in younger people because I think that once people make it to a certain point in their marriage, it's not that they tend to make it. I see plenty of people who grow apart. I think young people who get married very young, maybe they don't, they marry the wrong person, they rush into being married. I don't see a lot of divorces of people in their 20s because they usually can't afford a lawyer. They try to do it themselves. They don't have a complicated situation, so they don't need a complicated lawyer. But I think it's common for young people to sort of rush into something. And there's a lot of difficult points early on in a marriage that happens. But I see plenty of older marriages. I've seen some very old divorces, unfortunately.
Okay. And then a while ago you said also that if one of the partner is not working, so do you think there's a lacking of respect as far as that is concerned? That's the reason why maybe that's the reason why they have opted for divorce?
I think there needs to be understanding between the couples, right? I think that there's a lot of value in having one spouse stay home, raise the kids. It's a lot of work, right? A lot of work keeping the house in order, a lot of work, scheduling kids and where they're going to be, and birthday parties and activities and schools and homework and grades and conferences and vacations. There's so many things that somebody has to look after. So it's certainly a valid reason. I think that what happens is everyone needs to understand their role, and there needs to be an appreciation of how much work that really is. And there's just the realities of life. So I think that everybody, or not everybody, but people tend to look at what they're doing, and they go, I'm working so hard. I'm, doing so much laundry. I'm, staying at the office late. And they think that they're not getting anything back. I think that what they need to do is really, take time to appreciate each other, and I think they need to take time to focus on each other. Maybe put date nights back into their routine, spend time together, maybe put the kids to bed early and spend time with each other. I think that's important.
Yeah, I like that, putting back again the date night. But, I know that you told me earlier you have 3 children and a dog.
I do.
So for you, how do you manage that? Because maybe not no idea what's the age gap between them.
So my kids are, my oldest is 11 and my youngest is 5, and the dog is a year old. And how do I manage? I hold on as tight as I can and just try to make it through the day because I'm very, very busy. I think that it just, for me, I have to appreciate what I have because it doesn't last forever and things are good. The kids everything is temporary, unfortunately and fortunately. So if something's bad, it doesn't last very long. If something's good, you have to enjoy it while it lasts because the time doesn't come back. But there's a lot of, like I said, personal things that maybe I want to focus on or I want to do for myself and I can't because I have other responsibilities. And I think that, what happens in divorce cases, unfortunately, is sometimes people, need more time for themselves, or they aren't taking that time for themselves, or they're just not realizing that, maybe there's just, other people come first. So when you have children, you have a family, you're not number one, unfortunately.
Okay. But I really like what you said, time is short and then just have to maximize it. So that's something that we can all, take away from this conversation. And so I know that you're also not a therapist, but how do you feel when you think the reasons for divorce are something that you think can be worked on?
So that's a good question. I think that, like in therapy, so everybody has to understand, everyone has to have the ability to look at themselves and, maybe realize that maybe they're wrong about something, maybe, they're at fault for something, maybe, they need to step back. Because the first step in solving a problem is admitting you have a problem, right? So you have to look at the part that you play in the problem. But I think the harder part is having a partner who is also going to look at themselves and see what part they're playing in the problem, and also not take advantage. Mm-hmm. If you have one person that's saying, it's my fault, and you have the other partner that's saying, yes, it's your fault, that is not going to help. You want to have both people saying, something's wrong, what is the reason for it, why do I act this way, why do I react this way, are we communicating right, what can we do better, and work on that together openly. And you both have to be involved. If one person wants to fix it and the other person doesn't, it's not going to get fixed. It takes 2 people.
Okay, all right. Seeing what you're seeing now, do you think that the percentage of divorce will increase more from the current 40 to 50%?
No, I don't. I think that, I believe that people are people. So I believe that, there's sort of an even distribution of people that are, going to tend to get divorced versus people who are not. And I think that is probably going to stay where it is. I think that a certain number of people can work through relationship problems, and I think a certain number of people just can't. I do know that people who, in lower incomes, are getting married less. And those, having money is, first of all, finances are a huge factor in getting divorced. And so people with less finances, they're tending to not get married at all because why complicate things even more than they already are? You don't, need to get married to have a child. And so those can be factors for an unsuccessful marriage. The people that will always get married, I think, are the people who have more financial means and higher education. I think socially it's more important for them to be married and have the wedding and have the marriage. And certainly trying to attain a picture-perfect marriage can lead to a divorce. But I think that those are factors that help, that are associated with a successful marriage, higher educated people and having higher finances. So I don't think that it's all of a sudden going to, there's not something that's going to happen where everybody decides they're going to leave their husband or wife. I think that where it's at now is kind of, I think, the peak level of where it's going to be. It might go down a little bit, but I think, unfortunately, people are people, and the numbers are what they are.
Okay, all right. So earlier you said that those more or less there are young people who doesn't really go into divorce quickly. So you said also that there are some people who have looked into divorce because they have realized, okay, they don't have much to do anymore because their children already left. So is that a common problem for baby boomers? Because there are a lot of baby boomers. That's the reason why.
I would say that. I mean, baby boomers are probably past that age now. They tend to be older. And, this is sort of like tied with the midlife crisis, where after, 20 years of marriage, where somebody's, or 25 years of marriage, and, husband's 50 years old, and he still thinks he's got some good years left in him, and thinks that he's at a place now where his career is doing great and he's making money, and maybe things haven't been so exciting for the last few years, and I get a lot of people who say, it's like we're roommates, we don't even talk to each other, they sleep in separate rooms. So at that point, obviously, people grow apart. Baby boomers, what I see there, they tend to be older. It's rare, that I get into the 30, 35 plus length marriage where they're getting divorced. I've seen it, but it's not nearly as common. Because at that point, I think that they kind of realize that they've lived their life and there's only so much left, and they're with the person, and why change? So, they must love the other person, they have a love for each other, and they keep going. So.
Okay, it's either they love each other, they're just sticking with each other for financial purposes.
Yeah, or financial purposes, or they're just comfortable, right? Okay. Like that's what they know. That's their routine.
Okay, I got that. So those clients of yours on their second divorce, I wonder if they have the same marriage issues or on their second divorce.
That can happen a lot. So I've definitely seen people who they have a pattern, right? So, and again, I'm not a psychologist, but I've seen enough of this that, the relationships you're exposed to when you're young really inform the relationships you're going to have as an adult. And there's certain patterns that they are creating or they're recreating. And I've seen that multiple times where people are on their second or third marriage. They have a child with one person, they get divorced because they found someone else. Whatever they think is wrong with that first person, they think the second person is going to fix it. They have a child with that person, and they have the same issue, and now they're moving on to the next marriage, and they're just stacking problems in their life. I mean, it ends up being a tricky situation when you're trying to collect child support, and there's 2 other people in line, and 3 other children. That can be difficult. So. I think it takes a lot of introspection. I've seen people who are on their second marriage, but maybe they've lived a long time. It's a longer marriage, and other issues have popped up. So it can happen. I think it depends on the person's personality.
Okay. So from what you have seen, because I've heard that people get married 2 times in their lifetime. And so, did you see a lot of commonalities among men picking younger women on the second time around?
I mean, it happens, obviously. I don't have that many cases where, you have a real sort of trophy wife. I mean, I've seen it happen. It's not the most common thing, but it happens.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious because, in my industry, there are a lot of people who have been divorced and they're looking for somebody who's young. Mm-hmm. So either they didn't have a child when they had this previous wife. They want to have a child still, so they're looking for somebody younger who can have a child. Or as you were saying, they just want a trophy, so to show off, with their friends in parties and those things.
I would say what I've seen is, the issue is, I mean, an older man, marrying a younger woman has to keep up with that younger woman, and can't always do that. And that creates, its own difficulties where, let's say she's in her late 20s and she still wants to go out and party till 2 in the morning, and someone's in their early 50s, and all of a sudden maybe they want to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and that's not exactly a match. Also I've seen the opposite where after raising children, the husband goes out, marries someone younger, and has another child, and it's almost comical where the wife is like, "Oh, you have fun changing diapers. My kids are out of college now, and time for me to focus on me, and you're running around in baby classes." So that's what they signed up for, I guess.
Okay, all right. On the other end of the spectrum, did you see those remarried? Has there been a success in their new relationship, or more or less like not
Do
much?
you mean remarrying each other?
Yeah.
I've seen that, which is an interesting phenomenon. So if I'm seeing it, then it didn't work, right? So that's the unfortunate part. But it does happen, and I think that they're going back to the spouse for some sort of familiarity. I think they choose like the devil they know over the devil they don't. Like I said, the ones I've seen have not worked out. But one I'm thinking of ended spectacularly, right? They got married and they got filed for divorce like within 2 months. Another one I can think of, they stayed together for 8, 9 years. And the problem there as a lawyer is that even if they're together for a total of 20, 25 years, the court only looks at the second marriage. And so, whereas a longer marriage might have gotten spousal support for a lot longer, the court says, well, you're only married 8 years. That's not really a long marriage as far as divorce cases go. And so I could, only so much I could do there. So be careful.
Yeah. So being successful in your relationship, attorney. So do you have any recommendations for all those people who are looking to get married, or those men and women who are single and then looking forward to a relationship?
Oh, that's quite a question. I would say that you need to be honest with what you want. I think that honest with yourself, and I think especially for women, don't be afraid to be firm about what you want, because I think a lot of people, the dynamics that I see are women who want to be in a relationship so bad they're willing to compromise on the things that they want, or they're dating somebody who isn't serious. If you're with your husband, be honest. Say, I want this to go somewhere, and if it's not, don't waste your time. That's the advice I would give.
All right, great. So I wish that we have more time, but the thing though is that time is short, as you say. So if you are an expert in love, dating, and relationships, we want to have you over here. Also, if you are a single and want to find out how can you navigate through relationships and dating, just give us a holler, because we want to invite you over here. And so thank you so much again, Mark, and then I appreciate your time, and then I see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Experience